Everybody loves pizza, but what kind of pizza everyone loves is intensely personal. There are the typical ingredients you can find on slices all over the world. There are the more specialty ingredients savored by the true pizza connoisseurs. And then there are the just wild toppings that are a clear indication that we live in a world gone mad. And no, we're not talking about pineapple. But not all of those pizza toppings are created equal. So the great pop culture debate wants to determine what is the best pizza topping ever. I'm saucy, I'm cheesy, and I'm always hot and ready. I'm your host, Eric Resniak. Please welcome to my panel, delivered to your door in 30 minutes or less. Better ingredients, better panelist. It's Andrea Guerrero.
That's me, best of the best.
Best of the best. He's our resident Barb Kellner. Welcome back, Curtis Creekmore.
It's a pizza eater.
Eater. So if people don't understand that reference, Curtis, it's from...
It is a Saturday Night Live sketch by Melissa McCarthy and a couple other cast members. It's super funny. It's about the woman who comes in and eats all of the leftover pizza at office parties.
And you need to, we will post it on our Facebook. It's
Yes.
Everyone should watch it.
Yes.
And she's my definition of a deep dish. Say hello to Carissa Claus.
Hi, it's like a Kiki, but with extra cheese.
Ooh, I love it. I'm very lactose tolerant. So before we get to the debate, how does this work? We need a poll of more than 75 pizza toppings, everything from the basics to the more adventurous options like butternut squash or M&Ms. That was actually suggested. Roughly 50 people took the poll. We tallied their votes, ranked the picks by popularity, and added them to a bracket. Now we argue about it and insult each other, all for your amusement. Want to play along at home? You can. Head to greatpopculturedebate.com and go to polls and brackets. There you'll find the downloadable listener brackets for this and every episode of our little show. Do your picks match up with ours? Do you think our crusts are stuffed with delusions? Let us know by dropping a comment on this episode at our website or by yelling at us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. And lastly, if you're curious about how we went from the top 32 down to the savory 16, become a Patreon supporter of our podcast. Our Patreons at the $5 level or higher get exclusive access to the warm-up/part 1 for each episode, in which we work our way through all of the round 1 decisions. It's like a whole bonus episode for each topic and includes arguments you won't hear anywhere else. And it's only one of our great Patreon perks, so please consider supporting us on Patreon today. With that out of the way, let's slice up the pie and get straight into the debates. First up, it's our friendly fungus, mushrooms, the ultimate number 1 seed in this bracket, which unanimously popped a cap in the ass of 4-seed garlic and oil. Next, 3-seed green peppers is looking to shred the lead of 2-seed extra cheese. Carissa, why are you picking a peck of these peppers? Almost got it. Curtis, explain why we can't cut the cheese, and I'm going to have Carissa go first.
So I think a green pepper adds more to a general pizza than extra cheese adds. And that's where my vote is coming from here. You get color, you get crunch, you get a kind of a fresh factor. And depending on how it's cooked, if it's in a really hot or like a brick oven, you get a little char on the outer skin of that pepper. So I just think it elevates a pizza to something more different than just adding more cheese does.
All right, Curtis, what about you?
Picture it. You're 10 years old and you're on the roller skating rink. There's something that is just so nostalgic about extra cheese that you, regardless of where you were as a kid, like if you were at a party, at a picnic or a cookout or a birthday, like whatever, you ran in to get your piece of pizza and you went for the extra cheese. We talked a little bit in the warm-up episode about just a plain cheese pizza, and we didn't really get to talk about extra cheese. Extra cheese is that extra layer for me. It's the orange cheese. And I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody that's listening to this, but like when I look at a pizza and it's supposed to be extra cheese, if it doesn't have the cheddar that's included on top that gives it just that orange, like spotted sheen, then they did not do it right. Cheese is queen. Dairy Queen.
Dairy Queen. And it's surprising to me that Carissa from Wisconsin is not going for the cheese option here.
I'm going for variety. This was a tough one, gotta say.
Andrea, where are you on this one?
I am team green pepper on this one. Extra cheese just doesn't feel like a real topping to me, whereas green peppers do.
I actually also, Curtis, am with Team Green Pepper on this one. Green peppers is one of my personal go-tos. As I said in the warm up, like when I was a kid, my go-to was green pepper, mushroom, onion. It's changed slightly as an adult, but green pepper at least gives the sheen of healthiness to a pizza. It's like, oh, it's okay. I had vegetables. I had a salad. Really, it's basically a salad on bread. And I think extra cheese, now that I'm in my whatever age group I'm in, my age bracket, extra cheese, girl, it's gonna give it to me. Like, if I indulge in extra cheese pizza, I'm gonna be feeling it all the next day. I just cannot do it anymore. I can't. So even though I agree with you, Curtis, that as a kid you would 100% go for extra cheese, as an adult I'm going for green peppers. So with that said, I believe it is 3 for green peppers and 1 for extra cheese. Green peppers advances to round 3. Let's keep the peas going as 1-seed pepperoni goes up against 4-seed pesto. Andrea, explain why you don't have the cure for your addiction to this salted meat, while Curtis sides with the bold basil flavor of pesto. And I'm going to have Andrea go first.
I don't know how much I can say past it's pepperoni. It's a pepperoni pizza. You can't go wrong with a pepperoni pizza unless your diet prohibits you eating from pepperoni. Otherwise, it is typically a safe choice for a group of people. Much like the plain cheese and the extra cheese, there's also the nostalgia factor to it. And if you're just craving pizza and you don't really know what you want on it, you're going to get pepperoni. You're not going to like go crazy most of the time. You're going to just fall back on pepperoni. And I have always believed too that a pepperoni pizza, like a good pepperoni pizza, is the sign of a good pizza place. Like if their pepperoni pizza is bussin', then you know everything else from there is going to be great as well.
Was the term used bussin' or buzzin'?
Bussin'.
Bussin'. I need to hear more about this. Is it B-U-S-S-I-N or B-U-S-T-I-N?
I believe it's B-U-S-S-I-N. I stole it from the Gen Z crowd, so they're going to make fun of me for not using it correctly, probably.
They're going to make fun of everyone on this episode now.
Yeah, they're going to make fun of what you're wearing, where your hair is parted, everything.
That's fine. Bring back bullying. That's fine.
Absolutely. What's more Gen Z than that? The nostalgia throwback of bullying. Yeah. Okay. Good argument. And I'm so glad that I learned this new term. Thank you for that. Amazing.
You're welcome.
Curtis, talk to me about pesto.
So pesto is delicious on its own. And I love it on pasta. I love it on sandwiches. It is very versatile, even though it is a very specific flavor profile. If you've had pesto, then you know exactly what pesto tastes like, and it's delicious. And I think it brings something new and different to pizza that is a lot more, available than some of the other more quote unquote frou-frou ingredients, as Eric would say, like the prosciuttos, even I would say ricotta falls into that same bucket. But as a poor kid, the first specialty pizza that I think I ever had a pesto sauce. And that was a new flavor adventure for me because my mom was a cafeteria worker and we had beef stroganoff every night. So it was just gray food. Love you, Mom. So yeah, pepperoni isn't bad. I know that pepperoni is going to move forward because it's pepperoni, but I felt like I had to give pesto a fighting chance.
Carissa, I'm guessing you're also team pesto here?
Yeah. Yes.
And is that because you're vegetarian or is it because you genuinely enjoy pesto?
It's a little bit of both. And I think both of these ingredients kind of add a little bit of the same thing, like that kind of salty, bitey. I guess it depends on how your pesto is, but when a pesto kind of cooks down on a pizza and it gets you get all those flavors just a little more intensely. Yeah, and I like color on my pizza. I like variety, so pesto is going to add a whole nother shade of green. And so, yeah, that makes it appealing for me.
And we here at the Great Pop Culture Debate love a good dose of shade. I have to say, I love a pesto pizza. I think it's really delicious. I'm trying to think. There's definitely again, I mentioned Christians in Charlottesville, Virginia, in the previous episode, which is, in my opinion, like the standard of really good pizza shops that I've ever gone to, and they had some killer pesto pizzas back in the day. But it's pepperoni. Like, I can't not advance pepperoni here. It is like when you go to the frozen pizza section in the grocery store, and I know you're like, what are you talking about, you idiot? Frozen pizza is disgusting. But every single one, there's always a pepperoni option, because it is like, after cheese, the pizza that everybody has to have. I think Andrea makes a really interesting point that you can tell how good a pizzeria is based on how good its pepperoni pizza is, because there's some lousy pepperoni pizzas out there. I've had them. And if it's a good pepperoni slice, we're good to go. So that was a very good argument, Andrea. I believe we're split 2-2, because I'm going to guess that Curtis and Chris are not going to change.
Correct.
Yeah.
Pepperoni is a 1 seed, so it would advance because it's a tie. So nothing against pesto. Delicious. I've had it on many pizzas. Love you.
Can I make one statement?
You can always.
I would like to ask that moving forward, because pepperoni has kind of gotten by 2 rounds at this point by just saying, but it's pepperoni. That's not a good enough excuse anymore. It's fine to move it forward. But moving forward, I want to hear why pepperoni is actually good and not just why there are so many of them.
Duly noted, and I will take that challenge. I will happily step up to that plate, and I will devour it. Next up, 3-seed caramelized onion wants to cook down the chances of 2-seed garlic. Curtis, take onions. Andrea, you do garlic, and we'll see which bulb is best. And I'm going to have Andrea go first.
So garlic is one of those ubiquitous flavors that I think everyone loves. And I'm of the opinion that you can never have too much garlic. Like, I will suffer garlic breath for the rest of the day to just get like a good amount of garlic on whatever it is that I'm eating. And garlic's also just so versatile, which I remember someone brought up during the warm up. You can mince it. You can put like the whole clove on there. You can thinly slice it. You can, sprinkle it on the crust even. It doesn't have to go like on the main pizza itself. And I don't think that there are many pizza combinations out there that wouldn't benefit from having a little bit of garlic on it, a little bit to a lot of it. I'm trying to think, even a Hawaiian pizza, rest in peace from the warm up, would do wonders with a little bit of garlic added to it.
I appreciate you bringing Hawaiian pizza into the main episode, and may the Hawaiian pizza conspiracy continue to reign supreme. Unfortunately, it is knocked out. So that's a very good argument. Curtis, what do you got for caramelized onions?
Not a whole lot. I espoused my love in our warm-up episode, which I encourage you all to become Patreons and listen to, because it's some good stuff. I love caramelized onions. I think that adding a little bit of sugar and letting them cook down and get that jammy texture that Eric was talking about, like, that's delicious. It's so good. And it brings something totally different to a pizza that honestly, the argument could be made for pineapple. Like, it's a very strong flavor. It's very specific. You know exactly what it is when you put it in your mouth, and it brings a sweetness and contrast to a lot of the other stuff that you get on pizzas. But I agree with everything that you all have said. Like, garlic is delicious. It's one of my favorite toppings, honestly, in all of its different ways. So, like, I'm easily swayed here, but onions are good, y'all. Like, cook them down and put them on something and eat it. And I promise you will enjoy it, unless you're allergic, and then don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Carissa.
Yeah, I'm with garlic. And I do like a versatile onion, but garlic is just king.
Yeah, I don't actually care for caramelized onions, but I'm going to throw my vote to garlic here. And whichever one of those you choose, just make sure you make out with someone before you have dinner. Next up, it's 1-seed black olives, which are pitted against 4-seed basil, however you want to pronounce it. Carissa, explain why you're in black olives garden while Andrea bunches up in favor of basil. And I'm going to have Carissa go first.
So, as we mentioned in the warm up, black olives are my number one first go to ingredient choice. If you're getting just a general, one topping pizza, black olives is my jam. There's just something about them. It's one of those ingredients that's small, so you can have many of them per slice, which, makes every bite a little interesting. And it gives you those little kind of like salt bombs, and there's a little bit of a texture thing there. And I don't know, when I was a kid and I did Book It, the Book It. Okay. So
I'm so glad you're talking about this on this podcast.
Okay, so when I got my you get your pizza, your little like I think this is where my deep dish love came from also. And you get to choose your one topping. And I remember asking my parent, like looking at the list of toppings and being like, can I get just olives? And my parents were like, yeah, whatever you want. I was just like, it blew my mind. And so ever since, 9-year-old me flipped the fuck out at Pizza Hut about her black olive little deep dish pizza, I just can't go wrong.
So for those of you who are listening, including apparently Curtis, who does not know what Book It is, Andrea, did you have Book It in your community?
I did. Yep.
Okay. And obviously Carissa did, and I did as well. So Book It was a program that was encouraging children to read. And so there was a big pin that you got, and it had 5 stars on it. Someone correct me if I'm wrong about any of this.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You would go at school, and I don't even remember how they like policed this, but like you would go and read a book, just like at home, whatever book, it didn't matter. And then you would take your button and you would get like a star sticker over one of your 5 stars on your button for every book that you read. And when you got to 5 stars, you got to take that button into Pizza Hut and you would get a free personal pan pizza.
One topping personal pan pizza.
Very important.
Yes.
Was that how it worked for you as well, Andrea?
Yes, that's correct.
I feel like my stars were not like 1 per book. I feel like it was like you had to read like 10 books in a month, and then you could get, but also this isn't when you're really young and the books are like 40 pages.
Right.
So yeah, it was like, I don't think it was 1 per book necessarily, and I also thought that I got more than 1 pizza per season, but maybe I'm just conflating that with how special they were for me. I don't know.
Oh, you could like 100% go and get multiple Book It pizzas like per quarter. Like it was not limited. Like it was dependent on the books that you read. But I also wonder, like, when were you in grade school? Like what years?
In the 80s. So probably like 85 to like 92, I guess.
Andrea, what about you?
I was early to mid 90s.
And so was it the same setup for you?
It was, yeah. I had the star where, like you were saying, you read 1 book and you got a star.
Yeah. That's how I remember it. And it would have been like early 80s. I got out of elementary school in, I think, 89, 90. So yes, it was an amazing gateway to literacy and also to fatness. And so for that reason, I was a huge fan of Book It. And Deep Dish.
Because my family are not deep dish fans. I never would have been exposed to deep dish as a child had I not gotten that personal pan pizza.
And you have to understand, from my family, like eating in at Pizza Hut was a big deal. That was very fancy for us. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So like when I was able to go and get a personal pan pizza, that to me was the height of sophistication at the Pizza Hut in Nedrow, New York, which I'm fairly sure is no longer there. So thank you, Carissa, for bringing Book It back. Is Book It still a thing that's happening? Does anyone know?
I thought they were going to bring it back in some capacity, but I don't think it's the same as it used to be.
Yeah.
That is a damn shame, because
Pizza Huts are far less plentiful now than they were.
Yeah.
Sure.
Especially the dine-in portion.
Yes.
Right. But like, think about how many kids read books strictly so they could get that delicious personal pan pizza, which is probably like 1,000 calories, no matter what the topping is. Amazing. So thank you for that, Carissa, taking us on that journey. And Andrea, you're going to talk about basil.
So my argument for basil is that I loathe black olives. But I do appreciate basil on pizza. Like a nice margarita pizza, you get the fresh mozzarella and some basil, and it's great. It's perfect. But I mean, other than that, I hate black olives. That's my biggest argument for it, honestly.
All right, Curtis, where are you?
I think I would be more likely to eat, like if you were to put down a slice of each in front of me, I would go for the black olive first. But I do like basil. I think that it brings freshness and hits you in the face. Like, it's kind of crazy how much flavor can fit into one leaf of something. When you bite into a leaf of basil, it's like getting slapped, in a good way, if you're into that. But yeah, I think black olive.
It's tough for me too, because I love a margarita pizza. I've had basil on other pizzas. They're fine. But when I'm thinking of basil, I'm mostly associating with margarita pizza. Is the basil what I love most about a margarita pizza though? No, it's the fresh mozz.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, I think I am going to advance black olives. Although basil is delicious. You guys made a good case for it. But on its own, it does not excite me. Whereas, as Carissa has pointed out to us, if you're going to read 5 books and go in 1989 to a Pizza Hut, you're going to get black olives on that person with pizza. You're not going to get basil.
You
I
certainly
don't think
not.
they knew what basil was in 1989.
I don't know if Pizza Hut still knows.
I don't think they
Fresh? Is there anything fresh at Pizza Hut?
No, I was told at one point, my brother's friend worked there, and he's like, you do not want to know what goes into the like manufacturing of a Pizza Hut pizza. There's a reason it is as like pooled grease as it is. It is shocking the amount of like fat and butter that goes into those. So yikes. That said, still delicious. Next up, it's salt versus salt, as 3-seed Parmesan cheese is up against 2-seed bacon. I will strip down Parmesan's argument while Carissa tries to shave off bacon's chances, which means, Carissa, you're attacking bacon. You go first. Speak on Parmesan cheese.
All right. So I have a few reasons for choosing this. 1, vegetarian. Never going to order bacon on my pizza. 2, Parmesan is a cheese and cheeses are delicious. 3, Parmesan is a different cheese than cheese that's already on your pizza. So, like we talked about, a lovely cheese pizza just for me and extra cheese and all of these things. Like, if you add Parmesan, you get to keep the cheese pizza-ness, but you add a whole nother flavor profile because it's like drier. It's got this kind of more bitey and sharp texture and taste to it. And it's delicious and very salty, which is the only thing that bacon has going for it. So Parmesan is typically mostly cruelty-free.
Okay, you've got me there. Bacon is definitely not cruelty-free. Points to Gryffindor. But bacon is delicious, and I'm not just going to say it wins because it's bacon. Bacon, it can be that crispy. It can have a really intense smoky flavor. It can really complement the other meats. Like when I think of bacon, it's mostly like meat lovers pizzas or the baked potato pizzas or the cheeseburger pizzas, which again, like you're just talking about taking other foods and putting them onto a pizza by like disassembling the components. What is wrong with you, you monster? But bacon in and of itself is actually really good on a pizza. If you crumble it up, it gets nice and crispy. It brings that fat. It brings that salt. It can also be a little bit chewy in parts. And I actually think it's a really good, I'm not going to lie and say it's a versatile ingredient because it's not. But it does go with like a barbecue chicken pizza. Again, I'm talking about more things that are foods that I'm just shredding and putting onto a pizza. I'm having a hard time making a good argument on this. Would anyone else like to step in?
I feel like you already made the full argument. It's so like it's delicious, and it is not. It is a niche thing. Like bacon does its job. When you need something to come in and be bacon, bacon goddamn does it, and he does it so well.
It's true. Bacon is the Shaft of meats.
I don't know. It sounds like it gets the participation award.
Oh, sassy. All right. Well, where are you on this one, Andrea?
I was torn between these two, but I think I have to go with Parmesan cheese. To Carissa's point, I do love like the sharpness of Parmesan, especially like good quality Parmesan. And everyone loves bacon. I have never been a huge fan of bacon to begin with. And then, like, the whole bacon craze happened for whatever reason. And then bacon was on everything, and it just was like oversaturated a little bit. And so I think because of that, like, I sort of naturally go against bacon whenever I see it come up. But I think it's a little overrated, and I think Parmesan cheese would taste better in most scenarios.
So you think if bacon took a few years off and then like came back for like a comeback tour?
I think bacon needs to work on herself and come back, and then maybe we can talk.
Bacon for All-Star 7.
I love that. I love that journey for her. Okay, so it sounds like we're evenly split between Parmesan cheese and bacon, which bacon is a 2 seed and Parmesan's a 3 seed. So bacon actually advances. Scandalo. Sorry, ladies.
It's because the people that took the poll knew what they were talking about.
Well, I was going to say it just is more evidence of the sausage party that took the poll and is participating in the survey.
I do find it funny that the 2 gay men on the podcast chose the meat.
I don't find it funny at all. I find
surprised.
it very apropos. Exactly right. Yes. And you say sausage party like it's a bad thing. Next up, it's fresh mozzarella, a 1 seed, which is looking to melt the chances of onions, a 4 seed. Andrea, explain why fresh mozz is best, while I cry at the injustices being heaped upon onions. Andrea, you go first.
I truly do love onions, but just given the option between fresh mozz and onion, I think I would go with the fresh mozz, generally because I love fresh, raw, uncooked ingredients on top of pizza. And I think when you just like throw a couple of slices of mozz on the pizza, like as soon as it comes out of the oven, and like let it melt, maybe stick it back in the oven for like another 30 seconds or whatever. Oh, it's just perfect. Then you got like the stringiness of the cheese. And it coincides so well with everything else that's going on the pizza, no matter what toppings that you have on there. Whereas I'm not always in the mood for onions. I feel like mozzarella I can jive with pretty much any day of the week. Whereas onions, there's sometimes where I don't want to deal with onions.
Sometimes you feel like an onion, sometimes you don't. It's the onion joy bar. Sadly, a misfire on the candy market. You make a really compelling argument, Andrea. Now I'm switching my vote because, although it's funny you said like a slice of something raw on a pizza, and when it cooks up, it turns into something different. True for onions as well. Like it's the same thing. A raw onion on a pizza, you put it into the oven, and it's going to get crispy, and it's going to have a completely different, more aromatic flavor than if it's raw. But I do love a lovely fresh mozzarella slice. Margherita pizza is pretty close to perfection for me. I'm really torn here. Curtis, where are you?
Mozzarella cheese. It is cheese, and it is delicious. Dairy brings something different to the game. And yeah, it's got to be. I do love onions. I think I said in the warm-up, or maybe it was this episode, everything's blurring. My favorite pizza is sausage, mushroom, and onion. So like I'm there for the onion party, but very, very little beats a fresh mozzarella.
Yeah. Carissa.
Yeah, I'm with mozz.
Good. I'm glad I don't have to agonize over this. If you're going to agonize over something, ladies and gentlemen, let it be between fresh mozzarella and onions. That's really where you should be putting your emotional energy. But fresh mozzarella is continuing. And finally, in round 2, it's 3 seed sausage up against plain old cheese pizza, a 2 seed. Curtis, explain why you've got meat on your mind, while Carissa explains why plain is not at all boring. And I'm going to have Curtis go first.
I would direct you to the previous 34 years of my life as to why I have meat on the mind. I don't beyond the nostalgia factor, because that is such a big part of it for me. Like that was the go-to pizza. It would always be from Domino's because Dad hated Pizza Hut, and it would always be those round ass sausages and onions and mushrooms. And sometimes Dad would get black olives on his side, but nobody else liked those. Like sausage is just, it's beyond that. It's still such a delicious and varied ingredient. So like green onion, or not green onion, green pepper is a green pepper. Like there's only one thing that is called a green pepper that you put on a pizza. But when you say sausage, there are so many different things that it could mean. It could be the slices, it could be the crumbles, it could be the circles, it could be the anything that is a pig pork product that is made delicious and then put on a pizza. So I gotta go for sausage.
Carissa.
So I guess I alluded to this already, but we talked about it in the warm-up and how, simplicity is perfection, and how Kevin McAllister did not spend all of that time by himself to not have the lovely cheese pizza just for me. Every time I go to the grocery store, I get a frozen pizza because I still do make them on a semi-weekly basis. And the one that's always hardest for me to find are just plain cheese pizzas. Every time they stock them, they disappear. There's always Supremes, there's always pepperoni and sausage and all of that stuff. But the cheese ones disappear because it is versatile, it is delicious, and it is universally beloved.
Plain cheese pizzas for people who can't make up their minds.
I think there are people who are going to vociferously disagree with that, because there are people who are saying you don't need to put anything else on a pizza to make it delicious. And that's true. If the pizza is good, you don't have to put anything else on it.
It's true.
But I
Andrea.
would rather put something on it, I guess, is my part of, or my defense of that argument.
I hear that. Andrea, where are you?
I'm team cheese pizza. Sometimes I just want to order a plain cheese pizza. I don't want to be all fancy with, your caramelized onions and your basil and whatever. I just want cheese pizza. It's fine and everyone loves it.
I am sad that we have sausage up against cheese pizza here, because in my opinion, sausage should be in the Elite Eight. Again, these are very important debates we're having here, ladies and gentlemen. This is, real world building stuff. I'm sad that sausage is in a precarious state in my best pizza topping podcast. But here we are. I'm surprised that sausage was as low of a seed as it was. What is it, a 3 seed? To me, sausage is like top 8 ingredients easily. But it's up against cheese pizza. And I hear what Curtis is saying, that you can argue that you don't have to put anything else on a pizza, but why wouldn't you when it's such a good vehicle for toppings? It's like, well, ice cream is great, but why wouldn't you make it a sundae if you had the opportunity? Is that fair, Curtis? A fair analogy?
Somewhat. I don't know if ice cream is so much more than just a crust. Pizza requires more than just
It's
cheese.
a sandwich. Why wouldn't you put on lettuce and onions and tomatoes instead of just ham and cheese?
I guess.
Fair?
I guess.
Yeah. But sometimes, honestly, just a really well-made cheese pizza is better than anything else. A well-made cheese pizza is better than even a mediocre sausage pizza. And frankly, a lot of sausage pizzas can be mediocre. So I'm actually going for plain cheese here. And you're going to say I'm crazy, but I am.
I love being right.
I do too. But so that means we were 3 for plain cheese, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So that is advancing to round 3, and that concludes round 2. We're going to need to take a break because the Noid is at our door looking to ruin our pizza podcast. So we will be right back. Hey, Kate.
Hey, Eric.
So I heard, and this may be true, that you were actually the Great Pop Culture Debate's very first Patreon subscriber.
Was I?
You were. You're not only a panelist, you're also a founder.
Also a founder. I mean, it does give me a feeling of joy to contribute towards high quality podcasts like the Great Pop Culture Debate, so that, I get swag.
Yeah. What kind of swag do you get?
You get a button. That's the one I signed up for. Is there a tote? I feel like there should be a tote.
There's not a tote yet, but that's a great idea. I have some other ideas that I'm working on.
You get access to things early. You get access to Patreon only little mini-sodes. You get to hear hear the warm-ups before, when everyone's just kind of getting their little sea legs before they get into the main attraction. And you get season 0.
You get season 0. It's exactly right. You will never hear the otherwise, folks. And there's some great episodes in that, which include Best Madonna Single, Best RuPaul's Drag Race Lip Sync, Best 90s Cartoon. And the only way you can hear those is by getting a Patreon sponsorship for as low as $2 a month. Then you even get season 0 just for that. So thank you very much, Kate. We appreciate all of our Patreon sponsors. And if you do have the interest, please go to patreon.com/Great Pop Culture Debate and support us.
This is Wine, Dine, and Storytime. I'm Nydia.
I'm Dana. I'm Cindy, and we're your hosts.
Have you ruined a family gathering by asking what wine pairs well with eating a husband?
Are you the CEO of TMI? Have you ever been kicked under the table because you brought up your favorite dinner topic, atrocities throughout history? Then this podcast is perfect for you.
Each week, Dana and I share stories based on topics that include true crime, historical shenanigans, unexplained mysteries, and all things fascinating, while our amateur chef Cindy prepares themed dinners and pairs wines based on those topics.
Find us, the Wine, Dine, and Storytime podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and give us a follow.
And we are back for round 3 of our best pizza topping debate. Before we get into the Elite 8 matchups, I want to ask my panel, where can people find you on social media so that they can yell at you and not just me? Andrea, where can people find you?
They can find me exclusively on twitter.com, and my handle is @DreSouffle. And I love arguing with people on Twitter, so just bring it on.
Ooh, those are strong fighting words. I love it. Curtis, where can people find you?
I'm on most things @Curtich. Don't ask. It was a stupid thing that I came up with in college and just never changed it. So Twitter, Instagram, yeah.
It's like Kurt ITCH, correct?
Yeah, like I have to itch. I
Yes.
really need to update that.
It's fine. Carissa?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram sometimes, and Twitter even more rarely at Carissa Kloss.
And you can find me at Eric Resniak. That is REZ as in zebra, S as in snake, N as in Nancy, YAK on Twitter and Instagram. Or you can just message the @GreatPopCultureDebate.com. What am I doing? @Great Pop Culture Debate account on Instagram. The .com is our website, and you should check that out too. So let's now unstuff this crust and get right to the round 3 matchups. It's mushrooms versus green peppers. I'm going to go around the horn. Carissa, where are you on this one?
Mushrooms.
All right, which is bold because in round 1 you were actually against mushrooms.
I know, but that's because they were against mac and cheese?
Mac and cheese. It's
Yeah.
true.
All carbs.
All right. Andrea, mushrooms versus green peppers.
Team Shrooms.
All right. And Curtis?
Yeah, mushrooms for sure.
Awesome. So we're going to make it unanimous. Sorry, green peppers. Next, we have pepperoni versus garlic. I'm going to start with Curtis.
So I said earlier that pepperoni is probably the last thing that if you asked me for a meat that I would put on a pizza. So I'm going to go with garlic.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
fascinating. Carissa?
Garlic.
Andrea?
Pepperoni. I just can't imagine a world where I would choose garlic over pepperoni.
Yes, I'm right there with you. So, and pepperoni is a 1 seed, so it split, so it would continue. And the next debate will be pepperoni versus mushrooms, where we will address Curtis's concern that pepperoni needs to actually be defended, not just because it's pepperoni. Next, it's pizza eater. Next, it's black olives versus bacon, and I'm going to start with Andrea.
Bacon for this one.
Curtis.
Bacon.
Carissa.
Black olives.
I'm with Carissa, black olives. I think it's a better ingredient on pizza than bacon is. Bacon's a good second fiddle, but black olives can stand on their own. And finally, it is a battle of the cheeses, fresh mozzarella versus plain cheese. This is hard. And I'm going to start with Carissa.
I'm going to go with fresh mozzarella.
All right, Curtis.
Fresh mozzarella. This is not hard for me.
Yeah.
Andrea.
I'm going to have to go with plain cheese.
Even if I go with you on plain cheese, fresh mozzarella is the other 1 seed. And so it would advance because it would be 2 versus 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw my vote to fresh mozzarella just for the sake of expediency. Meaning all 4 of the 1 seeds are advancing to the final 4, which doesn't always happen, although it did happen in something else recently. All right, so final 4, mushrooms versus pepperoni, black olives versus fresh mozz, and I'm going to go to Carissa first, mushrooms versus pepperoni.
Mushrooms.
Chris.
Mushrooms, not even just because it's up against pepperoni. Like, I love mushroom pizza. There's so many different mushrooms that you can put on a pizza that taste, it's a completely different pizza. Like, that's one of the few ingredients that are left that have that versatility. So absolutely, mushrooms.
Andrea.
I have to go with pepperoni because I've never had a pepperoni pizza that I couldn't eat, whereas I feel like there are bad mushroom pizzas out there, like canned mushrooms versus fresh mushrooms, or the type of mushrooms. There's so many different ways it can go. Whereas with pepperoni, even if it's a bad pepperoni pizza, it's still a pepperoni pizza.
I see both arguments here, and I think they're both really good. These are my 2. Like, if I'm getting a 2-ingredient pizza, it's mushrooms and pepperoni. I think pepperoni is more ubiquitous than mushrooms. I think it is more socially acceptable to have a pepperoni pizza versus a mushroom pizza, because there's still some people who are just like, yeah, mushrooms, I'm not fucking with that. The argument that mushrooms are more versatile is true. You can actually get different flavors from mushroom pizzas. If you're doing a pepperoni pizza, you're pretty much just getting pepperoni pizza. But I would make the argument that pepperoni, when it cooks up, gets you that oil on top of the pizza, which can actually be its own kind of satisfying ingredient even of itself. That sounds gross.
It is.
But I stand by it. I think that it is, for me, I think pepperoni is the stronger ingredient here, but it sounds like we're 2-2, right? Are Carissa and Curtis going to change their votes in any way?
Definitely not.
No, because I find mushroom pizza more accessible. And like, even like as a vegetarian, it's usually the option other than cheese, especially if you want just a slice, like a New York style something. Every place is going to have a mushroom pizza. That will be an option along with pepperoni and sausage. So I like it for its accessibility and how kind of ubiquitous it is.
You think mushrooms more ubiquitous than pepperoni?
No, but for vegetarian options, it's your number 1 next to cheese. So it's sort of the vegetarian version of pepperoni.
Okay, that's an argument I can completely buy and get behind. Andrea, anything else you want to add there?
I really just love the taste of pepperoni. Like, if we're talking about just the flavors that we prefer when it comes to what I want on my pizza, I'm going to prefer the taste of pepperoni versus the taste of mushroom. And I love mushrooms.
Yeah, we are deadlocked. It's a tie. And if we're looking at, we did this before, right, Curtis, on the best musicals?
Yeah,
where
it's
we looked
the
at
overall number 1 seed.
And the overall number 1 seed, I think, is mushrooms, is
Mushrooms,
it not?
yeah. Upper left-hand corner.
Yeah, believe it or not, mushrooms is the number 1 seed for this whole thing. So I think we have to go by the will of the people, and mushrooms advances. It's black olives versus fresh mozz, and I'm going to start with Andrea.
Fresh mozz.
Curtis.
Yep, the mozzarella.
Carissa.
Olives for my bookend nostalgia.
Because we don't have plain cheese here, in my opinion, plain cheese should be the one that's here. I'm gonna give it to fresh mozz because in my opinion, it's the closest thing to it. We've talked how much I love olives, and I think they're a great, delicious ingredient. But fresh mozzarella is as close as we're gonna get to a plain option. I do think by the end of the day, pizza toppings, the plain still has to have some kind of an element at the end. So that is mushrooms versus fresh mozzarella as our final 2. And I want to throw it to Carissa. Who is your ultimate winner?
I think so. If we're talking about pizza, just generally crust, sauce, topping, it's got to be fresh mozzarella. It's the most basic, stripped down, version of ingredients, but it is, when it's done right and when it's the mozzarella but it's fresh, it's kind of perfect. So that's my winner.
Curtis.
I truly don't know. I want both. I want them both on the pizza. Okay, mozzarella. And only because when they put it back in the oven under the broiler and the mozzarella has that chance to like caramelize and brown up just a little bit, that's the reason. I don't know why, but that's the reason.
Andrea.
I am also going to have to go with fresh mozzarella. I love mushrooms, but I don't love the idea of just a mushroom pizza, but a fresh mozzarella pizza, sign me up.
I will be the lone holdout and say mushroom here because I do think that I love a good just regular mushroom pizza. I think it's delicious. And I suspect there are some people who are going to be like, it's a thing about toppings. How does fresh mozzarella end up winning the whole thing? I don't know.
I love this person. Whoever this person
is. I don't know how they're eating pizza with no teeth, but good for them. I'm going to have a vote against mushrooms, against fresh mozz, but it doesn't matter because there it is. That's our pick for the best pizza topping is fresh mozzarella. Do you agree? Do you think we need to reheat our opinions? Tell us how you really feel by leaving a comment on this episode at greatpopculturedebate.com or find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. While you're there, make sure you subscribe and follow the podcast so you can hear about what new debates are coming up, vote in open polls, and even decide which topics we tackle next. I want to say thank you to my panel. Topping with you is a delight, and I don't say that to many people. And thank you for listening. If you loved what you heard, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can get even more exclusive content, and you get episodes a whole day early. We hope you have a good one, and remember, everyone is entitled to their wrong opinion.
Pizza, pizza.
Pizza, pizza.